So we got a big video package at the start of this week's AEW to remind you of everything that happened at Wrestle Dream. This was actually more important than usual, because if you had caught up on the show just using social media, you would have thought that AEW shot a guy. They didn't. We also saw a promo from Hangman Adam Page afterwards going, "How dare you do this to me, Samoa Joe, and I'm now going to hunt you down and ruin your life." Make sure you put that in your brains. And listen, you're already in the comments. Yes, I have a crazy tan. It's not as crazy as it looks. It's because there's a light here, there's light there, there's light there, and that makes it look more silly than it already is. Also, if you come down and see me at a wrestling show this weekend, I'm doing Scotland Discovery on Friday and Progress London on Sunday, you will notice under bright lights, the way wrestling does it, it actually just makes you look tan. Also, just to break the fourth wall and go on about it, one of these shows, I'm a bad guy, and when you have a crazy tan, that just helps. Is everybody okay now? Good. Also, hello, welcome to Ups and Downs with me, Simon Miller, the Bald A-Hole, the show where we do give the good bits an up and the bad bits a down, and we do it with the very brown finger of power. But that's okay, man. Everything's going to be fine. Also, talking about everything going to be fine, if you're still on the internet going crazy, it's wrestling. Go outside, and remember, life can be great. Dynamite then kicked off with Samoa Joe and the opportunities taking on the Hurt Syndicate for the Trios titles. And I will say this, I would like it if the Trios Championships became a bit more of a focal point. There's just something about Trios matches when a belt is on the line that I like. Can't explain it, but I just do. We also started with Shelton Benjamin and Shibata, and imagine I told you that was going to be possible on American soil a few years ago, when Bobby Lashley and Powerhouse Hobbs tagged in for some big men slapping man meat. This was absolutely ridiculous, because Samoa Joe then tagged in, and he didn't like the fact that all the crowd was chanting meat, so he put a towel around Hobbs, and he said, "I'm going to do this myself." I mean, you can do that, Joe, but we'd already seen that Powerhouse Hobbs is a big guy. We've been watching Powerhouse Hobbs for around about 5 years, so I have no idea what you were trying to achieve. This all led to Bobby Lashley getting a hot tag and finally going at it with Powerhouse, and MVP was in there as well. And not only did he hit his ball and elbow, but he was about to win the match with the Playmaker. That's right, that's what it's called. When, and I actually couldn't believe this, Ricochet ran down to the ring. He cast distraction, and even though MVP is absolute a veteran at this stage, he couldn't believe that another wrestler was outside of the ring as he stood inside the ring. I think he totally forgot he was in a wrestling match when Samoa Joe went, "I'm a bad guy now." He applied the Coquina clutch. And bless MVP, he hadn't had his 8 hours, so he tapped out. Somebody the one on the dick board, because of course we did get some distractions here. And because the Demand were laughing, about this on the aisle way, the Hurt Syndicate made sure to chase them away. Look, the match is really fun, right? So I'm going to give it an up. But I cannot believe that the Hurt Syndicate Demand feud is going to continue, especially because we've already had like 2 street fights. How can you escalate it even more, especially because a few days ago, obviously it felt like we drew a line under it at Wrestle Dream. Now I bet this somehow ties into Blood and Guts, and they could be on either side of the teams, maybe, or maybe I'm being totally nuts. But that does have to get it down. I just don't get it. Like, they're all very talented people. They can go and work with others. Tony Schiavone then decided he didn't care about any of this, so he went to interview Samoa Joe, like, why? Why did you do this at Wrestle Dream? Samoa Joe's like, "Listen, just want to say it's great to be here in Texas, because you've got a lot of big women, San Antonio, and that keeps Powerhouse Hobbs occupied." I was like, man, we are learning a lot about William on this night. Now I know about his sex life. As always, Samoa Joe could be given a Peppa Pig script and he'd make this work, because he essentially said, "Oh, you want to know why I dicked over Hangman? Well, it's because you're the champion, Hangman, and I want that belt. You think you're the man, Hangman, and I'm going to be the man. And Hangman, you think you've got lovely hair? Well, I think my hair's better, so I'm coming after you." He also said something along the lines of, "If you're one of these people that chants cowboy shib, I'm going to make you my bitch, much like all sports teams makes Texas teams their bitches too." Listen, this was like the most longly worded thing anybody has ever said, but once again, Samoa Joe's got magic in that mouth. He makes it work. I shouldn't have said that. So this really does get an up, because Samoa Joe is just an all-timer, and thank goodness he is staying in the main event scene. I just love the guy. But I'm going to throw it down in there, because minutes before this, we'd seen Hangman Page going, "Oh, I'm going to come for you, Samoa Joe, as soon as I do see you," when he wasn't on Dynamite at all, and he's going to be on Collision. Now that's fine. If you are going to try and prop up Collision, you do need to send some stars there. But given that Samoa Joe was in the ring, I think the Cowboy should have come out and punched him in the face. So yes, that's a down. I mean, just air the promo after the Samoa Joe bit. I mean, it's semantics, man. It doesn't matter. But sometimes I go nerd. I also thought as well that we should read from a Peppa Pig script as if we were doing a promo just to see if it does work. So play me some music. Thank you very much. A time capsule is something that will show people in the future how we lived, said Madame Gazelle. Peppa Pig said how. And Madame Gazelle said, we'll put special things in this box and then we'll bury it in the school garden. And Susie Sheep said, will it grow? And Madame Gazelle said, no, Susan, it will remain in the ground for many years. When for some reason Peppa Pig said, a comic? Pretty glad I've never watched that show. We then saw Mercedes Moné arriving at the building with her 42,789 titles. She was so damn happy because, of course, she has added another one over the weekend, or two, I suppose. And man, are people on the internet so mad about this. You're right. It's really terrible that a very successful wrestler that has mainstream coverage wants to go round to smaller independents to give back to wrestling. I mean, I am disgusted, I tell you. Absolutely disgusted. Renee Paquette also interviewed Chris Statlander, who was super duper happy to beat sexy Toni Storm, whatever the flub she said, at Wrestle Dream when she did some wrestling maths. She was like, oh, hi, Mercedes Moné. As far as I can see, you've never beaten Toni Storm, whereas I've beaten her twice, so at Full Gear, I'm gonna whip your ass. Maybe she will, maybe she won't. It is a very good match on paper. I can't call it. But then got a pretty big segment, all things considered, because Darby Allin came out to cut his big I Just Beat John Moxley promo. And yes, he had that AEW flag. And yes, he mentioned Mount Everest. I'm not having criticism over Darby Allin continuing to tell us he climbed Mount Everest. That is like one of the rarest things somebody can do. It takes incredible mental and physical fortitude. I don't care if he's still wrestling when he's 109 and he comes out and says, oh, I climbed Mount Everest. I'll be like, you did, Darby Allin. And then we'll question what the flub is going on with our voices. The reason he tied it in as well is because when he did do this, so many people were like, oh man, you're so unhinged. You could never be the face of the company. But he put his life on the line and he took that flag to the top because he will die for this company. I was like, Darby, that's great and all, but honestly, just do an intense press tour. We'll appreciate it all the same. The marks on his body as well from that war he had with John Moxley prove the Death Riders will keep coming at him. And that's fine because he knows the secret sauce to beat them. He's gonna whip their ass. That was it. Off he went. I was like, you know what? Nothing wrong with that. You don't need somebody to come out and challenge the babyface all of the time. He also got a massive reaction here. So this should really be the start of his new climb to become the world champion, or at least a bigger champion in 2026. Giving it an up. Sometimes simple is the best. Then on a quick Jurassic Express video where they said, by the way, we just beat the Young Bucks, who are one of the best tag teams in the world, so we should be going after the tag team titles. And I was like, by Jove, that's the way to do it. Goes back to what we just said. That's all you need. Put the pieces in the correct puzzle places. Or something like that, Professor Layton. Speaking of the tag titles as well, this was the episode to finally sort out what we are doing the women's versions. When we got, I'm gonna have to go to my notes here because there's some brand new teams and I'll forget because I'm an idiot. But it was Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. Obviously, they've been doing their thing for a while. Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata, which ties into the blood and gut stuff. Willow Nightingale and Carly Cameron, who are wearing matching gear, who are brilliant. And the Triangle of Madness, but it was owned by Julia Hart and Blue Sky, and they're called the Sin Sisters, the Sisters of Sin. Something that sounds like a 1970 jazz song. The winner is also going to get to choose their first opponents in the brackets, which we got later, so I'll talk about them in just 1 second. I actually thought this was a really good tag team match, and I'm very excited about the AEW Women's Championship tag team titles, which they should not be called, but I think if AEW does focus on this, and we can even get maybe a few more teams, but it's going to pay off, especially when we get into the brand new year. Of course, it just went nuts and the rules kind of got thrown out the window, although we did see some good teamwork from Willow Nightingale and Harmy Cameron, so they've got it down. Otherwise, Megan Bayne was just being a big woman, slapping woman meat, because at one point she was grabbing bodies. I'm like, you come with me, I'm tagging myself in. Julia Hart also made sure to walk the ropes at one point because she is spooky when we got this mega German suplex, when eventually it was just Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata left in the ring. And what a great idea for a tag team finishing move. Not everything needs to be a specific double team. Because the Queen just went wow. So Jamie Hayter used the wibbly wobbly body and she hit the Haterade and she got the 1, 2, 3. Now listen, I've zoomed through this match, but I just thought it worked well and it kind of drew a line under the fact, here are our new teams, you should get into them, especially because who else is in the tournament? Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa, so it does have some serious star power. Also, Jamie wasn't going to stand on ceremony, Mr. Wayne, because she got a mic and said, hey, Julia Hart and Sky Blue, we hate you, so you are going to be number 1 in our challenge to become the brand new champions. Also, blood and guts. She didn't say that, but that was the wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So I'm most definitely going to give this an up. Again, I think you can utilize it to get a bunch more people over. And we're really going full in with people you can recognize. It's not like, I don't know, Tina and Rita, who you've never heard of. Everybody's aware of these guys. Up. The Young Bucks are then back outside Tony Khan's office trying to talk to him because they are so broke, they are desperate for money matches. Honestly, talk about goofy wrestling for life and understanding, well, if we are going to be a couple of heels, we need to be idiots. Khan must have literally been doing this because he opened the door and he's like, oh, hey guys, I heard what you said, and I also heard you say you're happy to team with anyone. So come Collision, I am going to put Jet Speed and the Jurassic Express together, and they're going to take on you, Matthew and Nicholas, and these guys, and out walked FTR. Now listen, the whole can they coexist storyline is totally ridiculous in wrestling because we do it all the time. But here I was like, well, that's pretty good. Of all the people you could have thrown the Young Bucks direction, and of course, because Matt and Nick are so desperate for the cash, they're like, you know what, we'll do it. When Stokely Hathaway gave them $1, and Nick Jackson was like, you damn right, I'm going to take that $1. I thought all that was brilliant. And honestly, I always try and watch Collision, but now you bet your last dollar, ironically, I'm going to find it. When Mercedes Moné decided to have her big celebration because she has become Ultimo Moné, and the amount of championships she has, well, I just think it's wonderful. It's not like she's bad in the ring, is it? So if you do want to suspend your disbelief, you could totally go, well, you know, she's absolutely kicking ass, and she's winning prizes to boot. I also love this, even though a large part of the internet was melting down once again. And listen, you're allowed to hate it. You're allowed to think it's the worst thing you've ever seen. I totally respect your opinion. But those that cross the line that go, oh my gosh, All Elite Wrestling doesn't understand what wrestling is, and they should never do this kind of stuff again, blow me. I shouldn't have said that, kids. Don't use those kind of words. That's absolutely terrible. But wrestling doesn't have to be tailor-made for you. Sometimes it should be. Sometimes it should be tailor-made for me. And sometimes it should be tailor-made for little Billy that lives down the lane. And why the hell are you not thinking about little Billy? But we did just have some fun here. I thought it was laugh out loud funny. And if you take this creative spark away from wrestling, well, you may as well just go look at a wall. Why don't you try that? And I know what you'll do. You'll find a spot on the wall and go, man, this wall shouldn't be pushed. Anyway, the point is, as Mercedes Moné was about to make her entrance, Mini Monet, that damn puppet, appeared at the celebration table, which means, within the context of what we were seeing, Harley Cameron had decided, I'm just gonna hide under this bit of wood and pretend I have a puppet. That makes me happier than being born. What?
Of course, eventually Mercedes did come out and she was absolutely livid about this, because just like the marks online, you are insulting my achievements and you don't understand my greatness. You know what, she's right. Mini Monet then started to repeat every single word that Mercedes was saying, like you would do in school, and just imagine not liking this. I mean, how much do you have to hate your own life to be such a negative Nancy?
Once again, that's a very good point. Mistake. Mercedes Moné then took the puppet's head and threw it into the celebratory cake, and everybody got upset, and the camera even zoomed in on the puppet's face, and the puppet was a real person. I thought this was tremendous. Goofy wrestling for life, and of course eventually Harley had to stand up, and she was really upset about this too. Mercedes absolutely ripped her apart as well, saying, listen, you recently wanted to be my tag team partner, now this is what you do to me, I'm going to have to end your life. When Chris Statlander, maybe literally, teleported in, and of course, not only did she totally wreck Mercedes, but it was Monet that went into the cake, which is the oldest wrestling stereotype in the book. But the fact that this was meant to be a celebration, and that Mercedes won so many matches, and she just made herself look like such a pillock here, to use a very British word, I just thought it was tremendous. Don't you come into my house and tell me Monet doesn't understand how to be a bad guy. Chris Harley and the puppet then started to do the Mercedes Moné dance. I just cannot stand all this grifting online. Once again, I'm happy for you to go, oh my gosh, that was utterly ridiculous and not for me. But to act like this is the death knell of wrestling when we have seen some abominable things in the past. That's the other one. You go, oh, wrestling used to be serious. No, it didn't. You had old women giving birth to hands. It's always been completely dumb. And sometimes it's going to work for you, and sometimes it isn't. I am going to give this an up. In fact, just to wind up people, as I go on the offensive, I am giving it 2 ups. That's right, goofy wrestling for life. I thought this ruled. Jon Moxley was then here to remind you that wrestling is always going to be a buffet cart because he wasn't having any fun. He was like, all right, yeah, it didn't work for me. Darby Allin did outlast me, but that's only because he's on a self-destruction mission. So sure, at Wrestle Dream it was a benefit, but eventually it's going to be your undoing. He also saw the sunrise this morning, so he has woken up another day, so all he can do is what he's always trying to do. And fine, sure, given what he said before the pay-per-view, maybe he's a liar, but that just means now when he looks in the mirror, he knows who Jon Moxley is. I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to kill someone. He sounded like an absolute psychopath here, and it would have been good anyway, but then we went into Jon Moxley versus Kyle O'Reilly, and my gosh, talk about injecting a story into your ass. And before we do get there, obviously Carl is part of the Conglomeration. I should have talked about this the other day. They have this brand new video that's like, I don't know, an old school sitcom, and it is so dumb. It's the best thing I ever saw in my life. 5 stars, 6.25 stars in the Tokyo Dome. I ain't ever gonna get mad that AEW does go Cyndi Lauper. Sometimes it just wants to have fun. The match ruled 2 and it had nothing to do with moves, because Jon Moxley now is so damn scared of being in any kind of position where he may submit, he basically has a meltdown. And bless Bryan Daniels on commentary, who sold this so damn well. Anytime he was in a predicament, he was like, look at Jon. This isn't the Jon we know. I think he's become a big old scaredy cat. Danielson also made sure to say, you want to know why we didn't know about this match earlier on? Because Moxley took so long late in the day to get cleared, so I appreciate that as well. And man, when Kyle O'Reilly locked on this ankle lock, Jon Moxley looked like a ghost was in his face going, oh, Jon, I am the ghost of Christmas past. And when he found himself there again, do you know what he did? He smacked the referee right in the face and he got himself disqualified because, again, he has become an absolute coward and he knows this. So going back to that promo, he is going to lie about it, I suppose, but also in terms of his actions, screw it, who cares? It's also why it's actually really good to hold off these DQ finishes because here it had such a bigger impact when, of course, out came the Death Riders. They are totally obsessed with post-match beatdowns. The Conglomeration were here as well, so all of a sudden we were doing the Death Riders versus the Conglomeration. So I can't remember if I did give Jon Moxley versus Kyle O'Reilly an up, but I absolutely do. Again, watching the unraveling of Jon Moxley, well, I think he's having a heck of a year, and we're in what, almost November now. If you want to start saying he's one of your wrestlers of 2025, I wouldn't argue with you. I think he has hit a lot of home runs, and he's another guy that just understands what you have to do to be a bad guy. He ain't a good person. In fact, he basically sucks. This was also our pie match of the evening because it was Claudia Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Danny Garcia taking on Mark Briscoe, Roderick Strong, and Orange Cassidy. I just had a whale of a good time. I just think they're all super duper whooper great. Especially when Claudio hits his strong button. That is one tough tamale. We also have to put a 2 on the dive counter. That's me being generous, really, because they went crazy here. And ultimately, it's when Mark Briscoe went for the Dre Jiller, when we kind of mimicked my hairline here, because every single move started to be cut off. Now, Claudio actually ended that sequence with a big old uppercut when Wheeler Yuta was like, haha, I can hit up a psycho knee, when he started laying in the elbows. But the problem was, because Bryan Danielson was on commentary, he kept looking at Bryan like, I hate you so much, and I'm glad that we tried to kill you. But you can never do that. That's the equivalent of like trying to do a pose. So Mark Briscoe, who was getting beaten up, was like, man, you ain't taking me seriously. He bopped him in the face, he gave him the Dre Driller, and he got the 1, 2, 3 in the victory. Given that he did lose at the pay-per-view, well, I thought that was superb booking. Well, not superb, just smart booking. It was also going to tie into a segment that was going to happen in about 5 minutes. Everybody ran out after this to start a big old fight, including every single one of the Demise passengers, because they love doing this stuff. We even saw Pac and Ishii get into it, so give me that match. And of course, it was Darby Allin who made the save, because he had said throughout the evening, Death Riders, you ain't done with me, so I'm not done with you. I mean, I'm going to guess that probably ties into Blood and Guts as well. So at the moment, my Blood and Guts match is like 9 on 9. But why not? Let's do whatever we want. Don't do that. It would be stupid. But I'm giving it up. Just good wrestling. We then went proper sports entertainment again because we cut to Mercedes Moné, who was about to be interviewed, and she still had cake on her. This was like an hour after that segment, so apparently there's just no showers in San Antonio. Amazingly, it was Athena who walked in, who was like, well, man, looking good there, champ. When she was like, actually, you do love title belts. There is a tag team tournament about to go on, so should we team up and try and win the things? Now, yes, Mercedes is totally upset. This is like the one ring to her, so she did agree. When I think Athena was like, let's go do some minion training. And Mercedes was like, would you just leave me alone? I don't want to talk about puppets no more. But they have now entered this bracket. So once again, we are overflowing with star power. Carl Fletcher and Don Callis walked out after this, and essentially Carl was all like, I am the greatest TNT champion because I've defended it 6 times. Now, actually, it is impressive because he did that in a very short window. but I would wait till you get to 10. 6 just a bit like, yeah, all right, bro, but what have you done for me lately? He also said that he could beat Mark Briscoe forever. He would never be able to beat him, when thankfully Mark Briscoe interrupted. Now, I did not expect this at all, but Briscoe was like, all right, son, well, you know, I'm still having to ice my testicles after what you did do to me at Wrestle Dream, but just give me one more shot, because I don't need hundreds and hundreds. I just need uno. Now, Don Callis whispered something in Carl Fletcher's ear, which meant he got the microphone. Maybe he said, if you give me that mic, you'll have free ice cream for life. So I totally understand. He was like, listen, we don't want to give you another match because you're just looking at money to try and feed your family because you don't love them and they are essentially a financial burden. I've exaggerated that a little bit. That's essentially what he was saying because he's a prick. I mean, he may as well have just gone, your children have no return of investment when they did leave. And I tell you why I did like this, and it's actually the opposite to the Hurt Syndicate and the demand stuff. If there was a championship up for grabs, that changed things. But I am so damn desperate for Mark Briscoe to finally win that TNT title, even though if he is going to do it, I don't know why we couldn't do it at Wrestle Dream. But knowing we're going to do one more go around and understanding that within the world of wrestling, you can't beat the babyface again. Well, this is essentially me crossing my fingers and trying manifesting it into existence. I mean, once again, I was genuinely pleased when we did get Reach for the Sky, boys, and out came Mark Briscoe. So I am giving this an up. Like, you can't carry it on for too long because it's already been going on for a while. But if anybody deserves a mid-card championships, it's that Mark guy. Think he's totally great. Up. Also, Carl Briscoe rules too. That's another reason he can lose. It's time for him to go to the main event. We then got the brackets for the women's tag team tournament, and it is Queen Amanata and Jamie Hayter, obviously taking on Hart and Blue. Willow Nightingale and Harmy Cameron versus Mercedes Moné and Athena, which is a massive match. Tony and Mina taking on Alex Windsor and Riho. You could probably work that one out. And we're getting Ty J taking on Megan Bain and Penelope Ford. So yeah, I like it a lot. We also had a quick chat with Mina here as well, who's all like, I haven't chatted to Toni Storm since the pay-per-view, so she's getting ghosted. When I think she said their team is called the Timeless Love Bomb. Pretty sure I saw that in a shop once. Tekla then walked in and basically should have gone, we're only doing a skit here because we need to set up a match on Collision. But she did talk about the fact they had Tangle before in Japan. So yep, we're gonna do that on a Saturday night. When we did get to our main event, which was Bandido taking on Okada for the unified title, and this was an excellent, excellent match. And this Bandit man, he continues to sell his gammy shoulder, which quite clearly is a worked injury, but he has tied it into every single fight he has done over the last few weeks. And somehow he's used that to not only make it more entertaining, but justify why he can't do certain moves and why he can't win. It's brilliant stuff. Something is happening with his character too when people do climb their way to the top. It's just getting more over with the fans. Like, he's become more than just a big match wrestler. Now his personality is shining through. He's a dude I'd absolutely watch in 2026. I think you can do a lot with him. I also just love this version of Okada. He is my favorite one, which gets people so mad. Because when he went for the Rainmaker early on and Bandido dodged it and then did the gun hands, Okada reacted to this like it was an actual firearm. Then, of course, later he did take Bandido down and he started flipping people off. He can't help it. We also got this ridiculous moonsault corkscrew counter thing by Bandido, which is tremendous. And I put a 1 on the dive counter, but once again, I'm being way too conservative. When once again, this damn arm-shoulder thingamajig did come into play because Bandido hit the 21 plex, but he didn't get it properly, which is when we got into all the 1-2-oohs. And this drop kick that Okada busted out when Bandido was going for it again, I mean, they're both very, very good. I mean, some of the reversals and the executions of those moves were just brilliant, and eventually, it was Bandido that was able to turn it round. He had Okada in place for another 21 plex, but this time that arm was struggling, and he'd also got his positioning wrong, which can happen if you want to look at wrestling like a sport. As soon as Okada realized that, he did a big reversal, he hit the Rainmaker, and he got the 1-2-3. But this didn't make Bandido not feel like a champion, didn't make Bandido feel like a loser. I mean, literally he was, but figuratively, his performance was so damn good. Well, he just got caught with one of the most devastating moves in sports entertainment, and he lost for the 1-2-3. Obviously, all 689,922 members of the Don Callis family came out afterwards, but there was one who was missing, that was Takeshita, because he arrived to his own entrance music when Carl Fletcher and friends had to calm him down, because what did Okada do at the pay-per-view? He dicked him over and he thought it was hilarious. So I like the fact we got this tease to end the show, because it just tells you how AEW sees the Okada Takeshita program, and eventually Takeshita is going to have to say a few words about this. We can do it on Collision, or we can do it next week's. The fact that it was the angle after the main event, but it just ties into what I just said. And when they do clash, oh my gosh, it's going to be absolutely tremendous. As was this, I'm giving it an up. I very, very much enjoyed the last 10 minutes. Which brought us to the end of Dynamite, and I massively enjoyed this show. I mean, maybe I'm just in a good mood. People always say that. You're just happy today, Simon. Oh, man, somebody flushed me down the toilet. But I actually think if you're not a massive grifter, you'll at least get something from this show. So you should go and watch it. It gets it up. Now you can talk about me in the comments. That's what it's there for. Oh, you're so orange. Yes, it is true. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Ups and downs for Raw. It's on the screen as well, so you can get all my opinions about professional wrestling. Otherwise, dudes, have a lovely day. See you soon.